Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him I will trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near you, your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation.
And we want to welcome all of His Glory Nation from east to west to north to south. Welcome to today's Take 5. We have Polny and Andrew Sorchini with Beverly Hills Precious Metals in the house with us. Gentlemen, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's great to be back.
To kick this off, I just had our Wednesday with Julie Green. This was the first Wednesday for Julie Green, just about 30 minutes ago. Her prophetic word from yesterday is big banks are coming crashing down, and all the truth of 2008 will be exposed, and also the Great Depression. So here we go.
Definitely the banks are scaling down. If you walk into many of the banks, they used to have like 10 like little sections where a teller would work, and most of them now only have 2 or 3. They have like drywall that covers like much of the bank, and I've talked with them about it, and the managers all seem to say the same thing. They say that they're making it so that going to the bank is not an experience that's a good one, and that forces people to do their banking online. So it seems like they're kind of going by the wayside.
Yeah, I'd say probably the best place to start on this whole podcast is 3 words: joy in spring. And you'll see why when we talk about this, many points we're going to hit today. But specifically, as much as, we say Happy New Year, understand that that's Happy Man's New Year. God's clock's a little different. So God's clock, New Year's, just like last year, all of those that were watching the eclipse, you got to understand, right? There will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. What was a sign last year? It was the eclipse. And incredibly, the eclipse occurred on April 8th, the last day of the year. The first day of the year of the God's year began the day after the eclipse, April 9th. Why I'm saying that is because that started the clock. So we can't look at man's clock, got to look at God's clock. And why I have this here is because specifically the new year, God's new year begins the end of March, specifically the 30th into the 31st. And that's going to tie in specifically to a video we're going to play here shortly in reference to Kim Clement. And what was Kim Clement saying? Kim Clement said specifically, it's incredible. This is like a 15-year-old prophecy. And he was referencing the date of January 21. What a coincidence. The day before that is the inauguration. And yes, Trump will be inaugurated. I don't care what anybody says. Trump has been anointed and appointed to have 2 terms. He's already won the election, and all we're waiting for now is for him to be inaugurated, and then all the heck breaks loose in the world, because these people are not going to go out without a fight.
That's right.
These next 3 months, like as much as we've seen, maybe Pastor Dave, whatever you're hearing on your channels, but for the next, so the month of January is going to be wild, but really the chaos, I believe, and I've been saying for a while now, is going to be in February and then March. So, because once Trump's in, they can't let him expose their deals that they did in darkness. And so expect pandemonium, chaos, just craziness. But then suddenly, the best word in the Bible, suddenly. And, Julie Green's, you reference her as well, too. She's talked specifically in reference to the great Exodus.
Yep.
Okay. So when was the Exodus? And this you find very interesting, because when was the Exodus? Because remember, there was no Passover until God gave Moses the revelation and the understanding of what Passover is. And then from that day forward, the world is supposed to celebrate Passover. But there was no Passover until the angel of death showed up. And God gave Moses the instructions. And so when did all that happen? April. So April is a very important time point biblically. And so when does spring start? Right? In middle March onwards. So that's why I say joy in spring. And so I just wanted to start off with that, and maybe everything that you're hearing as well too, Pastor Dave, on your channels. But from a cycles perspective, timing perspective, we're still in the latter year. We haven't entered the new year. And again, it's not my opinion. This is in Exodus 12, verse 2. And it specifically says, this month, which would be Nisan 1, shall be the beginning of months. It says Exodus 12, verse 2. Okay. And that date specifically on our clock right now would be March 30th. So basically the end of March. And so understand, so as April begins into May, hopefully your staff had that video I sent a little while ago. It's a 2-minute clip about Kim Clement speaking about the 70th and the 100th day from January 21, which happens to be the entire month of April, Pastor Dave. So if your staff could, anytime you want to play that video, just stick it on there. But basically it says from the 70th day to the 100th day, guess what gets destroyed in America? The spirit of pythos.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is the bondage that we have been in.
Let's go ahead and play that. You guys go ahead and play that.
I saw a python, and God said, between the 70 and 100 days, it shall begin, the strangulation and the destruction of this will begin, and it is going crazy. It is manifesting throughout America because it is dying. Now, you may not understand spiritual warfare and Diablo and Satan and demons and darkness, but it waits for an attraction. It waits for an invitation. And as I've said, there's been great division. But also it was spoken of that beginning January 21st, there would be a period in between 70 and 100 days, the spirit of pythos will be destroyed if the people act accordingly. This spirit is doing its utmost to destroy as many states as possible, make its mark. It'll be leaving. I wore this purposefully. It's the gold. He spoke to me about watching the gold as a sign.
Some of you have said, where is the God of Elijah? Some of you have cried, where is the God of Elijah? Some of you have said, why do I feel that I cannot breathe?
Amazing.
How awesome is that? Right? And so the 70th to the 100th day in that exact time frame is is the most important time point biblically where God has intervened upon humanity. That's the Passover season. That's when the Gideon's army, that's the 185,000 Assyrian soldiers were killed by the angel. That's the angel of death showing up on Pharaoh and his kingdom. That's when Daniel was thrown in the lion's den. All of that happened on Nisan 15. And so it's incredible. Joy in spring. We've got Passover, the 13th through the 20th. And then what did Kim Clement say? What is a sign? Resurrection, April 20th. And the spirit of pythos will be destroyed somewhere in the window between April 1 and May 1. So, and then this brings Andrew into the conversation beautifully, because when he raised his arms, what did he show? He goes, what is a sign? Now watch the sign, gold. And he had gold on his wrists. And so gold is directly tied into all of this, because when gold explodes in price, Babylon falls. Let me repeat that. When gold explodes in price, Babylon falls. When gold explodes in price, guess what follows right afterwards or at the same time? Silver. Mm-hmm. When silver blows vertical in price to prices, it's going to go triple probably in a single day. Silver is the bank killer.
Yep.
So back to the beginning of this conversation. Why do the banks go down? Because the spirit of pythos is destroyed. Silver explodes, banks crash by the hand of God, because they have manipulated silver for generations. Silver tries to take down the banks, take out the banks, and this then leads to what is called the Great Wealth Transfer. So we have been right about many things for many years now, but what we've been setting the stage for and telling everybody to do, or not to do, but to do with what feels right in their heart. And we've been speaking specifically, a great wealth transfer is coming. God is going to intervene upon the world. When he intervenes upon the world, gold and silver will do a moonshot. And when this event happens, it'll be too late to buy. So what you must do, if this is upon your heart, those listening, if you feel like you don't have precious metals, but you think you should, and your heart's telling you there's something wrong with the financial system. If you feel you have precious metals, but you may want some more, whatever is on your heart, it is a personal choice. But when this event goes down in a single day, everything's going to shut down. Precious metals explode. We're going to ultimately go to a financial system backed by gold, because when the banks come down, Trump's going to be in to restore a new standard of money called gold standard. And so all of this is coming. You can't stop it. It's all coming. So it's just a matter of, have you prepared? And if you're holding God's money, Haggai 2 verse 8, then however this all plays out into the end of the year, you're going to be blessed like you can't even comprehend and imagine, because the blessings, when God intervenes, he multiplies. He doesn't do percentages, okay? God doesn't do 20%. He's a multiplier. 100, 200, 500. This is 1,000%. This is what's coming to those that prepared. But if you didn't prepare, when the event goes down, everything shuts down. And then when precious metals market reopens, it's going to be magnitudes higher in price and extremely difficult to get. So it's either you prepare because you felt in your heart something's wrong. And if you prepared in your heart and you know something's wrong, blessings are coming. And so that's a great, place to start. Thank you for playing that video. I think that, go back and listen to the video, because this is incredible. This is a 15 plus year old video, specifically referencing January 21st. 70 to 90 days, I will repeat, is April 1st to May 1st. And right in the middle of those 70 to 90 days is the most important day biblically, Nisan 15. That's when Jesus died on the cross, everybody. 3 days later, he rose from the dead. And he And that was the greatest victory in human history. Do you understand why April is setting up to be the greatest time point in history? And we could actually see the price explosion here, I believe. I think it's going to start here potentially in February. So there's not a lot of time. And so, Andrew, let's get you in here and asking, what's it like right now in the financial sector with precious metals? Again, availability, market spreads. Tell us everything.
Yeah, and right now, gold and silver are readily available. And it's surprising because the prices have held. I mean, right now, silver's over $30 an ounce. It's held at that $30 range. And gold's $2,658 an ounce, which is just a little bit more than $100 away from the all-time high. So gold last year had its best year since 2010. It was up 27%. Wow. And the banks actually think that that's going to continue throughout 2025. And the reason that they say that it will is that the Fed Reserve is expected to continue to lower the interest rates. So as they lower them, that's going to cause inflation, possibly even hyperinflation, and that alone would drive the price of gold and silver up. So it's a rare time when we could see metals high and have gold and silver be readily available. So the shipping time is like literally 24 to 48 hours. So when people pay, we're shipping within 2 days. So it's a great time to be stacking gold and silver.
Pastor Dave, can you give us a little bit of information as what the Bible states about Passover and how that's such an important time point, the Nisan 15 time window? All the things that you can maybe expand upon to help people understand why April truly is such a critical time point, and then why the prophecies, Kim Clement prophecies, talk about joy in spring, and how all of these coincidences are perfectly lining up, because as we know, there aren't any coincidences. So talk about Passover, talk about things that happened at that time point, so the viewers can really understand why Julie Green and why the people you get on your show are talking about why God's about to intervene. And if he does intervene, he typically would do it on his appointment.
Yeah, well, so you look at what happened in Exodus, the Passover. That's one of the 7 Hebrew festivals that we are called to. The Jewish people are called to go to Jerusalem. There's three in one. There's first fruit, there's Passover, and there's the week of unleavened bread. And you look at the 10th of Nisan. That's the day that you're supposed to get the lamb without blemish. That represents Christ. You have the 14th of Nisan, which is Passover itself. You see ancient Egypt at that particular time. They had a dictator, Pharaoh, a one world type government system. But God protected the children of Israel in Goshen. And then once that Passover came with the blood of the lamb protected them, and they went off into the Red Sea, and they thought they were trapped. Pharaoh changed his heart, and God opened up Moses to part the sea, and they went through. And as soon as they got on the other side, Pharaoh's army chased them, and boom. And that's just exactly what's happening in the world today. God is repeating history. We will see a Red Sea moment, and we will know that God's hand's on it. It's an absolutely amazing time. And the spoils, this is the most amazing point. The reason God is doing this again is to give his bride the silver and the gold to preach the gospel to reach 1 billion souls. And that's where the children of Israel, they got the silver, they got the gold from Pharaoh and took it into the land of milk and honey. So we're living in an incredible time. I want to go back to what you said, though, about silver and gold being backed. I did have a meeting since the last time you guys were on with somebody that is very close to President Trump. Matter of fact, is spearheading President Trump's backing our monetary system with silver and gold. So we are going to silver and gold without a doubt, being backed.
I mean, that would be the reason that the central banks and like China and Russia are hoarding record amounts of gold and silver. You only hear about the gold, but they're actually Putin's actually stacking a lot of silver as well. So it's they're doing this because they know that we're going to a gold-backed system, yep. And if we're going to a gold-backed system, then you're going to want to have the actual investment that supports that system. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, the thing is, you can't even see when God intervenes, that suddenly moment, You see, people in the natural, we're so used to turning the TV on, seeing what the central banks were saying, trying to figure out what the next move. But we're stepping into a moment in time, which I see Pastor Dave smirking because it's true, because the Red Sea miracle, no one saw it coming, not even Moses. See, so we're heading, it's like a black swan event. It means it's an event that no one sees coming. And so you can say, oh, the interest rates are going to go down, or this or that's going to happen. And I agree. All of these things are being said in the natural, right? But then if we get a suddenly moment, and we are going to get a suddenly moment, because again, go back to our last podcast, God revealed something really incredible to me. It's a 248-year cycle. And we've talked about that on this, with Andrew, with yourself, Pastor Dave, that 248-year cycle, which God didn't reveal until this past couple months ago. Okay, so this 248-year cycle ends 4th of July, 2025. This goes back to the Declaration of Independence. This is how wild this is. And God's all about covenant. And God, that's, when you get married, it's about covenant. The Declaration of Independence was a covenant with God. When the rainbow showed up, it was a covenant God made, right? That He's not going to flood the earth again, right? These covenants are immutable. If a covenant is made by God, it stands the test of time. What does that mean? Forever. And so, but we're waiting. Why is it taking so long? Because the 248 years must come to an end, which is this 4th of July. So it's incredible. As these next 6 months, we're heading into the 4th of July. Incredibly, John the Baptist showed up 6 months before Jesus was born. We're stepping into a moment in time where the America that we knew, or that was initially founded by the founding fathers, is about to be reborn. It's a baptism, death to life. And all of this is going to happen within the next 6 months. So I just want the viewers to understand this is a suddenly moment, and it doesn't matter what the news says or anybody says, it's about to go down.
Yeah, the Lord keeps telling me, expect the unexpected. We don't know how it's going to happen, but when it does happen, we'll know it's a Red Sea moment from Him, and He's the only one that could have pulled this off. And that Red Sea moment is getting closer and closer and closer. It's absolutely amazing. And the other great thing is all the prophetic voices are saying the same thing. They're saying a little different, but they're saying the same thing. We're getting closer and closer. And I truly believe spring is going to be the time frame. Nissan is where God moves. We'll be right back after this.
Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is a client-focused firm devoted to assisting our clients with precious metals. Our clients range from first-time to serious coin collectors and investors seeking to add precious metals to their investment portfolios. We are not interested in volatile investments, leveraged products, and intangible assets. With rising inflation and the devaluing of the dollar hurting middle-class families, investing in gold and silver ensures protection for your hard-earned money. Save the value of your money today by investing in gold and silver at Beverly Hills Precious Metals.
All right, we're back. We were talking about something in the break with Bo Polny. I couldn't remember if we said something on this show or not, but talk about what we were talking about in the break, because the guy that was involved in that was at my ranch at a summit last summer, and he shared the story with Kim Clement and how they opened up that portal at the Pentagon of that demonic 9-foot demonic, and they called it the spirit of pythos. And literally afterwards, we had Roe v. Wade come into play. That was the penalty for accepting this demonic entity in the United States. And the whole purpose is to try to get intel on Russia. Amazing.
That's exactly it. This is the research that I've done on it, but basically it's called Project Looking Glass or Project Stargate, okay? And what they did with Project Stargate, it's called remote viewing or astral projection. So they would strap in these guys, they strap in the seats, and they were all like doing the psychic stuff. And so they were making connections. I don't know exactly how the whole thing works. Bottom line was that they were seeing these demonic entities in the spirit.
Yep.
And this was not godly stuff. This was all demonic. And then and these guys were professionals at what they were doing. And then however this happened, a 9-foot demonic entity, and this was directly related. This is not crazy. I will actually send you the link, Pastor Dave, you can include it. The guy that actually was involved in all this talks about this in this link right here.
After the attack of 9/11, President George W. Bush did what every U.S. president can do during a time of crisis and national emergency. He signed an executive order for a special circumstance to bring people into government that had a special skill or knowledge specific to that emergency. So I was invited to come in. It had to be authorized by the president, by the director of the CIA, who was George Tenet at the time, by the director of the FBI, who was Robert Mueller, and also by the Attorney General of the United States, John Ashcroft. So I want to share with you the most important thing I feel like the Lord's given me is to give you a timeline of when darkness got its greatest advantage in America. There was a moment. In the 1950s and 1960s, the Soviets had begun to deal with occultic practices called remote viewing and astral projection techniques. And they got so good at it that their operators, their agents, could literally astral project themselves from Moscow to Washington, D.C., and stand behind and overlook the shoulders of generals and read classified information, go back into their bodies and report word for word what they read to their superiors. This began to happen in the mid-50s all the way through the 60s. We became aware of a hemorrhaging of intelligence that was falling into the hands of the Soviets. You know what we did? We did what the U.S. government often does. Whatever the Russians can do, we can do better. And so in the late 60s, we began the same countermeasure program to use against the Soviets under the code name Project Stargate. Project Stargate was a U.S. attempt to outdo the Soviets using astral projection remote viewing techniques for the purpose of intelligence gathering. Stargate ran under the program name Project Stargate and also ran under other program names called Project Grill Flame, Project Sunstreak, Project Looking Glass. But all of these programs were using satanic techniques by psychics that our government and your taxpayer dollars paid for. And it was done by two agencies of our government, the DIA, which is the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the Central Intelligence Agency. The CIA was the lead agency on the program in the beginning. And what they would do is they would bring these people who were psychics, occultists, into this room, swore them under oath of secrecy, and they would conjure up demonic powers which was necessary in order to operate in these remote view astral projection techniques. What these guys would do, they were given some hard intelligence, they would be given certain information, and then they would be commissioned to go in the spirit world to fill in the blanks and to get all the information they could supernaturally. They put them in seats or chairs that looked like dental chairs with straps, and they strapped them in. The reason they did that is because when these operators would go into the spirit world, they would literally come into face-to-face contact with demon power that were horrific and terrifying. Our government paid occultists to go into the spirit world to come in contact with demons. I said that opened a massive gate over America. One day, I'm being escorted by the guy now in the suit and tie, and on the way, we have a lot of time to talk. And so I'm asking a guy who's part of one of the two agencies that hosted and operated Project Stargate. I said, do you know about it? He said, do I know about it? I was the official for the CIA that operated it. He was the lead manager for the lead agency that operated Project Stargate. Now, here's what he said. He said, all the operators were seeing these entities in the spirit world, but none of us in the room could see them but the operators that were strapped in the chairs. But something changed in December of 1972. One of those demonic powers, principalities, physically manifested in the room. And not some apparition of some misty kind of, am I seeing this or not? No, as real as you and I are, this demonic entity, a principality, a ruling principality in the earth, manifest in front of everybody and scared the pants off of everybody in the room. And this thing is, he said, was 8 to 9 feet tall. Years later, he's still trembling over the experience. Here's what he said. He said, we did a deal with that principality. He said, we made a covenant with that principality that if it would give us an advantage over the Russians and give us more power for remote viewing, astral projection techniques for intelligence gathering purposes, we would give that principality rights over America. Things began to get dark in America at that point. You know what the next thing that happened in America was? Just 1 month later, January the 22nd, 1973, abortion was legalized in America through the decision of Roe versus Wade. 1 month. after the covenant was made with this principality of darkness. You see, because all covenants have to be activated by blood sacrifice. That's why Jesus had to go to the cross. He had to shed that blood because that blood became the most powerful covenant. So all this is to say we're dealing with a covenant that darkness made.
And so what happened was, this was in December of 1972, a 9-foot demonic entity appeared, and this was CIA was directly involved in all of this, and they made a contract with that demonic entity to gain superiority over Russia, and because of all the stuff going on, because Russia was apparently doing this also. And so a demonic portal was open, and this was critical because the next month, Roe v. Wade, so this was December of 72, and then in January of 73, Roe v. Wade became law. And so it was the sacrifice, it was the blood covenant that was made with Roe v. Wade. And guess what we had? Then you tie in with all of this, the cycle of Leviticus, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land. And so between 71, 72, 73, and 74, that window of time was when evil was grabbing hold of the United States. And Kim Clement then later on came in and he closed that demonic portal, but the demon already had entered into the United States. And so now what you've got going on is this 50 years of chaos in America, and look where we are today, 50 years later. And then the crux of the whole 50-year cycle was what? Everybody knows this. We talked about it. Petrodollar contract, June 9th, 1974. Kissinger then goes and makes a contract with Saudi Arabia for military protection for Saudi Arabia as long as they agree to sell their oil, and this is the key word, 4-letter word, only, ONLY, in U.S. denominated bonds, okay? And so all of this has been going on for 50 years, but then suddenly things start beginning to change because in 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard. Leviticus, 50 years later to the exact day, the fall of Kabul, August 15th, 2021. How does that happen? 50 years to the exact day. Okay, so Kabul fell. All heck's been going through the United States since that time point. We gave $1 billion of equipment, so over there he's left it. Okay, and so the finishing time point on this was June 9th, 2024. And what happened on that day? That was the petrodollar contract, Saudis and Kissinger and the United States. Saudis refused to re-sign on June 9th, 2024. Just last year. Okay, so 6 months ago-ish, Saudis refused to re-sign the petrodollar contract, and now they've joined the BRICS. And so the brothers of Goliath stand in glee. The BRICS are going to attack the U.S. dollar, and they will bring this nation to its knees. What does that mean? The banks shut down. The banking system collapses, okay? The banks, as you know them, crash, okay? And that's horrible. Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
It's more yes than no, because all this money, because the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, who founded the Federal Reserve? Revelation 2 verse 9, they call themselves, but they're not, they're from the synagogue of Satan, okay? So the synagogue of Satan founded the Federal Reserve. So people, this is like a huge dynamic story, but the point is, it's all because of their love of money. They've loved the money. They put the bonds on our neck, bondage. And so we're in bondage right now. And so because of the covenant that God made 248 years ago with the founding fathers in New York, that covenant is about to be restored into the 4th of July. So we've got 6 months of chaos, but specifically 3 months of chaos, and then God intervenes. We're going to have a Red Sea miracle moment. But before the Red Sea miracle happened, Pastor Dave and Andrew, you had the angel of death.
Yep.
Understand that God's going to take these people out. Okay. This is not because Trump is not allowed to get the glory on this. And so right now everyone thinks, Trump's going to save America, make America great again. Trump's not going to make America great again, because if God doesn't intervene, it's going to be an uphill battle like he saw the first time around.
Yep.
And so we're going to have a biblical moment. This is a completion of 248 years. And understand, this 248-year cycle predicted the fall of Rome to the exact year. This 248-year cycle predicted the birth of Jesus to the exact year. This 248-year cycle predicted the Great Flood to the exact year. This is how powerful this 248-year cycle is. And so the cycle completes this 4th of July. So again, John the Baptist was 6 months younger, and incredibly, from the inauguration to the 4th of July just happens to be 6 months. So I hope that gives the viewers an understanding, sorry, about Project Looking Glass. It's all been about satanic possession and the Satan demon, the spirit of pythos entering America in the early 70s. And now you apply the Leviticus cycle of 50 years and you get to 20. So 2024 is not over yet, but honestly, the covenant, it's all about the covenant. So the year 24 technically would end based on the covenant on the 4th of July. Actually, the day before, the 3rd of July. So this is how the mathematics work on all of this. The new United States begins on the 4th of July, 2025.
Well, I can confirm that because the eyewitness was here on my ranch and he told me that story, personally was there. And I had a couple generals here and a couple prophetic voices. So that indeed happened. Amazing.
It certainly is.
It's not against flesh and blood, but principalities, princes of darkness.
Literally.
That's what's going on. These are demonic spirits, and one actually showed up and made a contract with the CIA. Come on, you might think this is crazy, but look what's going on in the world right now. It's crazy.
Yep.
And so the only solution is to not be, this is the key, fear nothing. There's nothing to fear, because God's got this. But before God moves, he does nothing before first revealing his secrets of what he's going to do. He's spoken wealth transfer. He's spoken, he's going to flip the financial scales. So that's why it's so important to understand that we do this podcast with Andrew, because Andrew, of all the people that I know, he is probably the number one bullion precious metal deal that delivers lightning speed, has incredible availability, only sells what he has in inventory. And I just know, from Clay Clark to everybody, the Reawaken America, to yourself, Pastor Dave, we've had nothing but stellar feedback by everybody that's been using Andrew. So I'm telling you, no one's stopping what's coming. Nobody. Go back and watch a Kim Clement video. What did he say? With his hands up, watch the gold. Watch the gold. It's coming, and I believe it starts in February here. And that's the first jump. And then, April into May, June, it's going to be times that we can't even imagine financially. So again, and I do know that Andrew also talks regularly about 401ks and IRAs. Maybe you can expand upon that, because a lot of people they might have some 401ks and IRAs. Again, I don't want to tell people what to do. Neither does Pastor Dave. But we're telling you that we did this. We've bought gold and silver, and I regularly call up Andrew every month and put in another order. And Andrew can attest to that as well too. So go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. You know, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is an excellent time for people to do what we call a portfolio review. This is something that most people tend to do in January of every year, because you know how time manages to get the best of us. Before we know it, it's going to be summertime. But January is a good time to take a look at all your finances, all your investments, and if any changes need to be made, this is the time to do it. So we've been helping a lot of people for years, especially lately, roll over 401ks and IRAs into precious metals IRAs. And you can do this without it being a taxable event. And it's not just limited to IRAs and 401ks. You can do 403bs. You can do government retirement accounts, inherited IRAs, simple IRAs. Any of these can be rolled into a precious metals IRA, and it's only $200 or $300 a year to set up, and it's one of the most amazing ways to own physical gold and silver. And you'll want to do it before gold and silver blast off here, because like you guys were both just saying, for years and years and years, the dollar was backed by gold. We were on the gold standard. And then a little over 50 years ago, we went off of that gold standard, but then the dollar was credit backed by bonds that the United States was selling in order to make the dollar valuable. And that's how the dollar is the world's reserve currency. But if it's not backed by the petrodollar, and if it's not backed by gold, then that means that the dollar is just going to die. It's going to lose its reserve status. And when that happens, there's going to have to be something else to come in and replace the dollar. And that's likely going to be some sort of gold-backed digital currency. And I know BRICS has been working on one for the past few years. I think that Trump could come in and one-up them. And if we had a gold-backed digital currency, then it's not going to hurt you to own gold and silver. It's only going to help. So to me, time is of the essence. This is a good time to look at your investments and reach out to us. We're not going to pressure you or high pressure you into doing anything. We're just going to lay out the facts. And if you need to, you can take a step back, talk with your family about it, pray about it. And that way you can make a more informed decision and feel good about it after you've done it.
To your point, he's going to one-up them in that meeting. That they're already planning with President Trump, this event, the silver and gold back. He's tying something else into it that I'm not at liberty to say right now. And if this goes away, they think it is, and I think it is, he is going to one-up them. It's coming.
That'll be wonderful.
The only way to stop what's happened is to take down how they built it. They built Babylon with a fake financial system. Like Andrew just said, and we were talking earlier, Nixon took us off the gold standard in 71, but it was in June 9th, 74, Kissinger and the Saudis create the petrodollar contract. So between 71 and 74, it was backed by nothing. And then for the past 50 years, it's been backed by oil. That gave the word petrodollar contract, okay? But as of June 9th, 2024, the U.S. dollar, please, everybody, please listen to this. The U.S. dollar is backed by nothing of substance anymore, aside from faith and confidence in a government that's gone, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And there's no petro backing. There's no oil backing in the U.S. dollar anymore. It's nothing but air. The U.S. dollar's nothing but air. Okay, that will not and cannot stand forever. Something has to change. And so and that's where the central banks have always been the authority on what happens fiscally, financially for the United States. But now that the petrodollar is no more, and the dollar is not backed by gold anymore, they're just not talking about it. It didn't mean the event didn't happen. Saudis now have a contract with Russia. They signed that 9 days after Kabul fell. Okay, so Saudi's got a contract with Russia. They no longer have a contract with the United States. They refuse to re-sign. And so the whole financial system's a total fraud. You just don't know it. We're here telling you the whole financial system's a total fraud. And so when God intervenes, you just got to read scripture. Haggai 2, verse 8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. Okay. Trump is going to come back. He's not going to want to, he's going to be forced to rebuild a financial system. When the BRICS attacked it, it probably lost a third of its value overnight. And so it's now been dethroned as the world reserve currency. So I do know, I'm telling you, Trump is going to one up the BRICS. And actually the prophecy on the BRICS, this is cool. The BRICS will fall. They built Babylon with bricks.
They did.
And the bricks fell when God intervened. Understand why? Because the BRICS are bringing on a very evil system, because their agenda is basically China's and Russia, but basically China's been, this is the snake, the dragon, right? So they want to control humanity with this BRICS financial system. And so we cannot have the BRICS financial system stand as the world reserve currency, because that's going to quit bringing a one world government so fast your head's going to spin. Okay, so the BRICS will fall. When did the BRICS fall? Pentecost. BRICS, because they twisted everybody's tongues. Get it? Mm-hmm. What happens at Pentecost? The speaking in tongues. And so additionally, to all of this is God was very, very specific to me about the story of Lazarus. Okay. He died and we go dark. The United States is soon to go dark. Okay. For about maybe 3-4 days. Maybe Pastor Dave knows about this as well too.
Yep.
But when did Lazarus die in the tomb? In scriptures, it's after Hanukkah, but before Passover. Lazarus was resurrected already before, because Jesus went to have dinner with Lazarus at Passover. Well, a week before Passover, when he showed up to Bethany, what it was. So Jesus he brought Lazarus back from the dead on the 4th day between Hanukkah and Passover. And that would line up somewhere in the month of March of this year. And there's a prophecy by Kent Christmas that says that in the month of March, God's he's gonna bring a strike upon the pharaohs of this world. So something's gonna happen. So I'm just telling you, so we got February and March, it's going to be crazy. And so I just pray people have been listening to us. Before we start talking, silver's in the low 20s. Now silver's at $30. Okay. None of this is a coincidence. It's all happening in beautiful timing. And I wanted to point something else out here, which the Lord revealed to me. And I think you're all going to appreciate this, because everybody was talking about what Trump did when he did this in 2018. In May of 2018, Trump opened the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. Guess what May of this year is? 7 years from when that event happened. When that event happened, it was 2 Chronicles. He will charge to build a home in Jerusalem. So that was 2 Chronicles 36:23. Now Trump's about to be, he's an Isaiah type character. That which has been will be again. So we're about to witness Isaiah 45. What a coincidence. 45th president. Verse 13. He will rebuild my cities and set the exiles free. Isaiah 45, verse 13. 7 years will be this May 2025 from when he moved the capital to Jerusalem. I'm just telling you, none of this is a coincidence. All of this, like Pastor Dave just said, it's amazing.
It is amazing. I was studying the book of Genesis today, a commentary by my mentor, Chuck Missler, on the 70 years. 70 years is so incredibly deep when it comes to the Bible. So when you see the number 70, you want to dig deeper. I want to go back to Julie Green, though. The same prophetic word that I mentioned earlier about the big banks crashing down, 2008 would be exposed, and the Great Depression would be exposed. The next paragraph talked about the demise and the coming and the collapse of China. Tying in right into what you just said.
Do you know why? Because the Kim Clement prophecy says that Russia backstabs China. That's why. And the BRICS collapsed. And the reason being because Russia's very smart. Putin's very smart. He knows that ultimately this is a power struggle, to be the top of the food chain, right? And Russia knows China wants it. And so Russia's going to be forced to backstab China on this whole deal, and then the BRICS are going to collapse, because this is just going to be, if China grabs control of the world, forget about it. You got the central surveillance system that they're doing over there already. That's the one world system. So the cool thing is BRICS collapse. God, as like Andrew was saying, is that Trump's going to one up them. He's going to bring in a gold standard, and this is the cool part: the United States, evil flees the United States, never to return to any degree that they've ever had before. So, and China is specifically Egypt. Listen closely, because when God intervened with the angel of death, Egypt fell and never rose to power ever, ever, ever since. So when God intervenes, China will fall and never, ever, ever rise to power ever again, because they are the analog to Pharaoh.
President Trump has been talking about Panama Canal, Canada becoming the 51st state. Greenland is in the news. Don Jr. was just there yesterday. That whole purpose is China. China. China's the main reason behind that. And Andrew said something earlier. I think he said that Putin was stacking silver. I know somebody that knows firsthand that he is the richest man in the world, Putin. He has physical gold and physical silver.
I've talked about that before. When you own gold and silver, it's completely out of the centralized banking system. So we're completely unaware of what individuals hold, of how much gold and silver any individual could be holding. So they're talking about who could be the first trillionaire. My guess is that there are already trillionaires. Yep. And they're not out there telling people like, hey, Forbes has me at 200 billion, but I actually have a trillion because I have 800 billion in gold. No people are going to come out and say that. But my guess is Putin probably is a trillionaire because he's probably sitting on a ton of gold personally. And that's the beauty of this. I mean, we don't own it privately because we're doing something bad with it, but we just want to own an asset that's not controlled by any government or any entity. And that's what gold and silver is. To me, it's freedom. It's portable wealth. And like Bo always says, it's if you invest in gold and silver, you're not locked into it forever. You can turn it back into green. You can turn it back into dollars if that's what you need. So it's like when you go to a country and like I did recently, I was traveling, and each country that I went to, I turned my dollars into the local currency. And then on your last day, when you're done buying things or paying for taxi rides or whatever, you cash it in and you get whatever currency you need for the next one. So this isn't a permanent move. This isn't like buying, a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. This is just turning green into gold and silver and then back into green if you need to. And there's a lot of people out there that have had emergencies recently and have reached out to us and needed to sell a little bit of gold or a little bit of silver back. And that's what it's there for. So I just, I say thank you to all the people over the years that have listened to us because, like Bo said, silver was in the low 20s when we first started doing this, and now it's sitting at 30. And when we first started doing this, gold was at like $1,700 an ounce, and here we are just under $2,700 an ounce. It's up almost $1,000 an ounce since then. So at the same time, the dollar has lost buying power. Like with inflation, the dollar buys less today than it did 4 years ago when we first started doing interviews together on this show. So your dollar is losing value. But if you offset that inflation, what you're losing due to inflation with gold and silver, you're up. So that it's the perfect hedge against inflation, and that's one of the biggest reasons to own gold and silver.
Again, to confirm, Andrew, you must be reading my mind or been on that call I was with the Trump team, because that's exactly what they're doing. This new system, I can't say one piece of it yet because it's not out there, but it's going to allow you to go into silver and gold back and bypass green if you want, but if you want to go back into green, but it will be very fluid and allow the everyday American to be able to buy and sell very fluently instead of the way it is today. And the exact words from the person who came up with it and is working with President Trump, he said it's a bank killer. It'll destroy the bank.
It is. And, that's one of the questions that people ask me all the time. They'll say, Andrew, can you explain to me how it is that we're going to be able to transact with gold and silver once the dollar goes down? And I just let them know that it's not crystal clear exactly how it will work, because we would actually have to be in that emergency situation in order to fully understand the mechanics of how it would work. And that's also what you're talking about. It's like if we're going to some sort of like gold or silver backed digital currency, it will all become crystal clear once that starts to roll out.
Yep.
People are so fixated on the US dollar. When this all happens, what are we going to do with the money system? Understand, you're holding on to a concept that becomes unimportant. See, the Federal Reserve note is not federal. There's no reserves, and it's a paper instrument which burns in a fire. Okay, so a fire's coming. That fire is going to destroy the U.S. dollar. It's not going to go to zero, but it will lose the status of the world reserve currency. From that day onward, no one's going to want it. There will be two instruments of transactions in the United States. There will be the current Federal Reserve System, which no one's going to want, And there'll be the new treasury instruments backed by gold that everyone's going to want in the world. We become the world's superpower because we have money backed by gold and the strongest military in the world. We become number one in the world with Trump in office. That's about to happen. The way we transact changes forever. No one's going to want to convert their gold back into the trash Federal Reserve note because no one's going to want it. See, so right now you have an opportunity to own the new money that's about to be instilled upon humanity. The strongest currency in the world is about to be formed. It's a treasury note backed by gold, and everybody in the world is going to want it. And if you've got gold and silver, you're about to be a part of that. A wealth transfer is coming.
Yeah, there's no doubt the explosion. I keep saying silver, but gold's going to go up too. But as you guys have been saying, silver will be amazing because it's just so much upside. Andrew, closing remarks, how they can go and get that today before this event happens?
Definitely reach out to us on the link that's on your screen there or directly on our website and fill out the online form. And if you fill out the form, there's a note section there that really helps us help you the best way possible. So if you're interested in learning how to roll over a 401k or an IRA and have it be a non-taxable event, then put that in the note section and we'll get back with you within about 24 to 48 hours.
Amen. Well, that wraps up today's Take 5. Go in his shalom.